It was all a scheme. I used to read Word Up magazine. Baby, let me tell you something. That's the theme for today. It was a scheme. The setup is real. And I need to ask you guys this question because it's come up quite frequently. Do you guys feel that what has happened to Quad is karma for what happened to Mariah? I see a lot of comments that reflect this theory. Okay. And so I'm just positioning it to you guys. What do you feel? I'm just looking at the comments online and I'm just asking the question, right? And we're going to dive into the nitty gritty of that because it comes up in two conversations that we need to discuss. The first, we need to recap Quad's interview with Carlos King. Now, the second thing that we need to recap is going to be Mariah Huck's latest interview. Oh, yes, Mariah hath spoken. Okay. So let's get this thing on the road. Who here in the chat has seen the interview with Quad and Carlos King? Let me know if you saw part two because it was released today. I'm going to go over just a couple of notes from that. I have a lot more notes from the Mariah interview, but just a couple of things from that because I really didn't feel like we got too much new information. And I'm always looking for like, okay, what didn't we already know? Or what didn't I already know that maybe some of you guys already did? And I would say that there wasn't a lot that we got that was new for me, um, other than, you know, Quad emotionally explaining how she felt about the ladies icing her out, essentially, right? I mean, she was hurt. She feels like, what has she done to warrant all of this? She loves these girls, she loves the show, and she just doesn't see that she has done anything that would warrant them icing her the way that they did. There was a lot of that, okay? Just to give you guys my honest reaction about it, there was a lot of that. Now, warranted, I'm sure it is, because again, the interview from my perspective was to hear from Quad. We wanted to hear how she felt, what she thought. There wasn't a lot of new tea to get. I mean, just a couple of things. Like she did talk about how Dr. Heavenly was able to find out details about her contracts that were indeed true. And she says that she has no clue how Dr. Heavenly has found out about these things and that her agents deal with her contract. One of the things that she talked about was that she claims that she does not really know where it came from, that she was sort of going to the negotiation table to say, well, why is Dr. Jackie getting paid more than me? Okay. As Heavenly let us know, okay, as Heavenly alleged, Dr. Heavenly alleged that, okay. And Quad is saying, she really, she really, she kind of denies it. But the general thing that she wanted to convey, it seemed, was that her agents do the negotiating for her. So she does not know where that came from. Does she accept Dr. Heavenly's public apology that Dr. Heavenly tweeted, in advance of the episodes? Quad says that Heavenly can call her anytime she wants, but she couldn't call her so that, she could hear in her own voice that it was sincere. She says Dr. Heavenly did text her. Now, I could have swore Dr. Heavenly said in her live with Carlos that she did call Quad, but Quad didn't pick up the phone. Now, this does go into a running theme about that has been kind of put out there, that Quad will not call people back until 6 weeks later. Okay. So we don't know if that was the case or not. because she does say that she would answer the phone for any of them right now. And in my notes, I wrote in parentheses, maybe 6 weeks later, as they state. Um, so the picture that's being painted is an interesting one of Quad. So she also says that she has not heard from any of the ladies since these, I guess, the episodes have been airing, but she does confirm something that Dr. Heavenly had stated that after, I guess, certain things happened and she had to go through certain things over the summer, that some of the ladies had begun to, I guess, maybe build bridges to sort of, begin talking again. But, these episodes airing have brought up a lot of feelings for Quad. So she is going through and hurting. She says she's been beating herself up, asking what she did to deserve this, and she's willing to apologize to anyone that she's hurt or done something wrong to. Um, when asked about if she would like to continue being on Married to Medicine, it's interesting because I would have been more intrigued by a firm yes, but she kind of goes into this idea that she's given a lot of herself, her ideas and energy and resources to Married to Medicine. She has great intentions for the show. She fights for the show, even with all the hurt and pain she's going through. And I'm just like, just girl, just say yes. Like for me, I'm like, that's a yes or no question. Yes. Okay. That's what I inferred from it. So we'll run with that. Then she also addresses being 3 hours late, as has been stated. Now, I want you to listen to what she says, and I'm gonna tell you what Mariah said later. So hang on to your hats, okay? She says she was not 3 hours late, but she was very late to the meeting with Simone to film. She says she was coming from another scene and fighting Atlanta traffic, and she was indeed late. But she has made it her business now to be on time. She texts the production company when she arrives. She texts the production company if she's been there for 30 minutes to an hour and she still hasn't been mic'd, to let them know that she is ready, willing, and ready to go, and that she's there to diligently work. She congratulates the production team. Now, with regards to Toya and Eugene and this whole apology that I felt like was the one that everyone really wanted, was apologizing to Toya and Eugene about this notion that Toya knew of a hit on Anila's home that was burgled. Okay. Now, Quad asserts, as did Dr. Heavenly, that this information came from Carrie Wells. Okay. And so, what Quad simply wanted is what this is what she's stating. She simply wanted Toya to let them all know where she heard that from, and that she does not believe that Toya and Eugene are scaling walls and climbing into people's houses to burgle them. Okay. But she does say she was wrong for repeating all of this, and she apologizes, and she's standing on it. She's standing on it like she is standing on business. Okay. So if you did not see the interview, that's the gist for me of what she had to say. um, you know, Let me know what you guys think. It didn't make me feel any differently than I did about the situation to begin with. I already felt like I knew how it was going to look on camera for the viewer. A lot of viewers would feel a certain type of way about the way it happened. Um, and it is just what it is. You know what I'm saying? The ladies may not have meant for it to look that way, but it definitely did. Now, when you talk about Mariah, like, let's get into this because this was very interesting. Okay. Now, Mariah did an Instagram live with All About the Tea. And there was another young gentleman there who was interviewing, I guess, on the scene. Now, she was promoting her new, I think it's a co-working space that she has. And so, of course, we had to talk some hot topics. I mean, why not? Because there was a lot going on in the news, especially with regards to Dr. Jackie and with Quad right now, right? And we talked a little bit about the Dr. Jackie of it all yesterday in this particular video right here. So you guys can go back and watch that to get more intel about it. Mariah is going to address that, but let's go in chronological order of how I saw things when I watched this. Mariah says that there is an unwritten script. There seems to be an unwritten script on Married to Medicine that you have to isolate people, and it's a completely different show from the one that she first started. How does she feel about Quad being kicked off the show? She says that she's not sure how she feels about it. She doesn't know if that's really going to play out that way. I mean, because we do see Quad showing back up at the finale, and we saw that in the trailer for the mid-season. So I think even Dr. Heavenly alluded to the fact that they at least want some level of working relationship with Quad, it seems. And to be very honest with you, a lot of this that's happening with Quad right now is, I don't know if it's the only thing that's contributing to the, the everybody's talking about this show right now, right? At first it was Sweet Tea, and now it's the Quad of it all. And now that Mariah has put her stamp on some things, we're really going to be talking about it, right? So she's not sure if it will play out that Quad will not return or not, but she did not like them inviting her to San Francisco just to send her home. And she thought it was low down, and it showed a level of desperation from whoever it was that they should be, and they should be better than that. She didn't like it. It was brutal to watch, and she was clutching her pearls. I stated to you guys, it was not going to play out very well in terms of the optics. It just wasn't. It was a hard thing to watch, and you can't really escape that. You just can't. Um, if Quar were to reach out to her, what would a conversation sound like? Mariah says it's not really about Quad. She does have a soft spot for women in general, and Mariah herself reveals that she doesn't feel like she's perfect, but she has integrity and a moral compass and is cut from a different cloth. She feels like Quad hasn't taken accountability for a lot of the alleged lies that she's told about Mariah's family, but she feels like Quad has been through a lot, so she's not sure what that conversation would look like, but her heart does go out to her. And so I do like the sound of that because, there was an accusation that Quad had put out there about Mariah and the what the people call it, the white powders. And that never really set well, I don't think it set well with a lot of people in general. You know what I'm saying? But definitely not for Mariah, who happens to be a doctor's wife and a businesswoman. So I just don't think that she wanted that level of association to be out there about her name. And it was asked, what advice would Mariah give to anyone going into unscripted based on what she's experienced with her cast and with Quad? She says, don't do a lot of show with a lot of women. Be authentic and be your best self. Sometimes sticking out like a sore thumb works. I do have this conversation a lot with a lot of reality TV personalities, especially when because, I will tell you, listen, an interview is always good, but the before the interview and the after interview is always even better. Like, because usually the person being interviewed has felt, I mean, if the interview goes well, they usually feel so much more comfortable with you, and they also are able to reveal more that because because it's not on the record, right? And so what you end up finding out is, just interesting tidbits about what they're going through. And I always tell them, never would I reveal any conversations that I have off of the interview, okay? But I always say to people like who have issues with where they are, it's just be yourself. Don't change. You know what I'm saying? Like, always continue to be yourself. Yeah, you gotta be yourself. You have got to not let the opinions of the audience sway you in any way, shape, or form, because that will change that will change what they actually like about you next season. So, like, let's say Sweet Tea, for instance. Sweet Tea is really raw and true to herself at this point. So my hope is that she don't come back next season changing any of that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what makes her feel so fresh. And I don't want her to lose that. You know what I mean? So that's a good example, I think, of what she was saying. All right, so let's talk about, you know, the conversation turned to Quad's allegations about her that we kind of talked a little bit about earlier and how they affected her. She did feel like it was the lowest of the low, but interestingly enough, she says to hear the ladies talk about accountability and the fact that what was said about her was said on national TV and they knew it wasn't true and no one stepped up to defend her. She says that this to me was interesting. She says that she was dealing with other things at that point in time. So that is the reason why she could not sue Quad because she was dealing with a whole nother giant in her life at that time. And I'm like, was this the network or like the production company? Like, what was going on with that? And she felt like at that time though that the cast, their hate for her outweighed them rallying around her to defend her when they felt like, it wasn't true, the accusation that was made against her using the white powders. Okay. Now, in terms of Dr. Jackie, Mariah says that she took a 5-panel test to prove that she had not done the white powders. She asked Dr. Jackie to read the test and she could have exonerated Mariah, but she didn't. And Mariah felt like in that moment, she saw Dr. Jackie for exactly who she was. She's not surprised by any of the controversy surrounding Dr. Jackie at this moment. She says, we've seen how she's judged obese women, and they give Dr. Jackie grace because she's a doctor, but she's not Jesus. And Dr. Jackie makes mistakes like everyone else. And she says one of the problems with the show is that they have put Dr. Jackie on a pedestal. And why? Because her patients are celebrities. She says she's learned a lesson about putting anyone on pedestals or any of those doctors on pedestals because her mama says there's nothing worse than an educated fool. Um, it's so funny to me. Like, I love there's a good and a bad about this whole situation with Dr. Jackie. Okay. The good and the bad of it is, like, they do put Dr. Jackie on a pedestal. I do feel like the network kind of utilizes her as the face of the show, particularly in light of the fact that Mariah is no longer there. And a lot of people say that Dr. Jackie legitimizes the show Married to Medicine. You don't see a lot of Dr. Jackie getting into the mess and the minutia of things, but every now and again, Dr. Jackie will definitely throw a level of icy shade and do something that feels so kind of like cold. Um, it does go to show you that there are multiple sides to her personality, and all of those sides are not perfect. So that can be a good and a bad thing, because the good thing is it brings her down to the level of everybody else, i.e., not being perfect. But then again, it also shows like, oh, you can go there. And do we like that or not? Is she truly the golden child or just the golden girl, as Mariah calls her? Okay. Um, so thoughts on Dr. Jackie, saying black women cry wolf when it comes to, maternity issues, as we spoke about in yesterday's video, where Buffy Purcell went slam off on her. Mariah thinks it's horrid for Dr. Jackie to plant that kind of seed when black women are already fighting so many stereotypes. But it's great that she's telling us all what she really thinks about black women. And we have to take a step back when people show you who they are, believe them, and she's not surprised by any of this. Now, Mariah says that Dr. Jackie compared her to the herpes, and how negative and nasty that was, because Dr. Jackie is an OBGYN who treats those women who have those types of diseases. but everybody swept it under the rug. Okay. Another instance where you have to ask the question, like, I mean, Dr. Jackie can be nice, but maybe Dr. Jackie can also be nasty. Nice, nasty, what they call it, right? Um, I think that Dr. Jackie exhibits this, there's this idea of Southern shade, right? Wherein, you think about fancy balls and cotillions and things of that nature. And there's this idea that Southern people, are very friendly outwardly, but nasty behind the scenes, or at least have the capability to. And I think that, again, it does go to show you that there are different sides to Dr. Jackie, and that the veneer of perfection is starting to maybe crack a bit more. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And I would be interested to see what Dr. Jackie says in response to all of this backlash that she's currently getting. Will she respond? Something tells me she won't, but it would be interesting to see what would happen if she did. And will this be brought up at the reunion? Mariah says that Dr. Jackie doesn't take Medicare or Medicaid, and that there's a certain upper echelon of patient that she only takes now. So how would she be able to talk about these other women, when she's only dealing with the brats and that of the world? You know what I'm saying? And it was brought up that it was odd because she talked with Kamala Harris, right, VP Kamala Harris, about advocating for Medicare and Medicaid, or at least that seemed to have been a part of the discussion. And Mariah says that that's not the person we want representing that population. Buffy Purcell had actually indicated that Dr. Simone would have been a better option than Dr. Jackie because of the nature of the conversation. So Mariah is surprised that that people in general are so surprised, like they didn't know who Dr. Jackie was, when Mariah says she told us who Dr. Jackie was a long time ago. Okay. She also says that there's a core group on that show that think that they can vote people out, but they are going to find themselves with only 2 viewers if they continue down this path, and see how that works out for them. And that's when she calls them the Golden Girls, which I think they refer to themselves as. And she sees that anybody can be cut. Okay. And, she doesn't think that they see that. So while they're busy cutting Quad, it is also true that they too can be cut. Okay. It was asked who was the biggest crab in the bucket of all of this, and she thinks that the girls on the show now are currently all marching to the same beat with each other. She feels like it's a toxic energy, and they're just kind of feeding off of each other. And she talks about how the producers will ask you to do anything, but you don't have to do it. I guess maybe referring to whether or not this whole thing with Quad was a production thing or the girls thing. And I will tell you that from my own experience, yes, you may be asked to do different things on a reality TV show, but you also have a choice of whether or not you will actually do those things or not. It is what it is. You got to just sometimes at a certain point in time, stand your ground, right? Um, you know, she feels like the OGs are banding together because they are nervous about their potential spots on the show, and she feels like the things that they're saying to Quad are the same things that they said to her herself. And she remembers going to Simone and crying and asking, like, why are y'all ganging up on me? Like, what's up? And she alleges that Simone said, well, the audience loves it when they all come up against her and it gets more ratings. So Mariah feels like they think it's cute. Now, see, this is interesting to me because when I told y'all that Quad said that Dr. Simone told her that she didn't have an issue with her, but she sides with Toya because she doesn't want to make Toya angry. And then hearing Mariah say that the audience loves it when they come up against her because it gets them more ratings, it paints an interesting picture of Dr. Simone for me, because so many people were so unwilling to believe that Dr. Simone would ever say that, right? Now, again, we say alleged, and we have to say that because we didn't hear it ourselves. But I do think it's very interesting that both Mariah and Quad are saying these sorts of things about Simone when I feel like her character on the show presents something different. But again, people are layered and they have different sides, and there's more to people than just the good or the bad, right? Now let's go back to something that Quad had talked about earlier about being late. Mariah says that she thinks it's horrible what they did to Quad, but they created this monster. She says Quad was showing up late seasons ago, and it would irritate her 3 and 4 hours late, she alleges. And they, the cast, went along with it and thought it was cute back then, but they're complaining about it now. We've heard about her being late from Doctors Heavenly, and apparently we know that there was the issue with Dr. Simone. Quad didn't address any other issues, but Mariah is saying this started a long time ago. You know what all of this makes me want to do? It actually just makes me want to start this franchise over from the beginning and watch. Now watching, looking back at everything with a more critical eye, I wonder what we would see. A part of me just wants to do like a podcast where we just talk about, we just sort of recap the previous episodes based on what we know now and what we knew then. And I wonder if we could see what was happening differently now than we did then. She goes on to say that Quad needs to understand and accept. You got to be careful how you treat people and what you go along with, because what they do to someone else, they will certainly do to you. Now, that's something I always tell people, is that when you see somebody out there doing something either malicious or something that you don't quite agree with to other people, you should always reasonably assume that pending the right circumstances, that they may end up doing the same to you. It's usually only a matter of time, okay? So that's the tea for today, y'all. I was literally like up diligently just watching, taking my notes, because I just find this all to be so fascinating, and it makes me even more interested in the amazing and rich history of this show. And I still, to this day, feel like it would be very interesting to see Mariah, Quad, and the rest of the ladies all together for another season of Married to Medicine, because the history is just so interesting. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about both of these interviews down in the comment section down below. I know I definitely went a lot longer than I intended to, but we just had so much to cover, and I couldn't skip anything. So with that being said, make sure you guys tap into the subscribe button, hit that like button, and of course, we will catch you all in the next video.
So, Desiree Davenport, what are you hoping to accomplish with this show?
Honestly, I've lost everything in the most horrible way possible. And listen, I want it all back. I'm willing to build it piece by piece, and I mean brick by brick.
Oh, honey, she is done. I bet you a Burke and she doesn't last all season with us. Just watch.
I'm Misha Hill, and I'd like to consider myself the matriarch of this dynamic group of ladies. I mean, someone has to keep them under control.
I'm Davita Delaney.
I mean, I think I could teach these ladies a thing or two about how to get and keep a good man.
They said she was a gold digger. She didn't hear that from me. I'm just really looking forward to being surrounded by other empowering bosses.
Yes, I know exactly what she's doing. And if she keep playing in my face, I'm gonna have to let her all her dirty little secrets, just like she did to me. And I'm not playing.
Let's get this straight. If I brought you into this circle, I just as easily can take you out. She ain't running nothing over here, okay? She needs to be worried about running that household and worried about why that husband of hers is never at home.
Oh, hell.
Ooh, child, this is about to be a mess.
Oh my God, I hate mess. What in the world did I get myself into?